Hey, hi, hello friends, and we're back for another cycle. Hey guys, so I want to start off by saying that my original plan was not to actually react to this video. This is the Getting Coffee with my Beezers. I want to talk about the video that she had up yesterday, the one that it was like both her and Natter talking back and forth again. So the You're a Joke and Natter's what was it? Unbelievable. I wasn't going to watch this video. You guys know how I feel about giving him my views. But I saw a couple other people already clipped it together, just saying, being the one who I had seen in particular. And I was going to watch that. And I was going to cut that down and react to it. But Milk Tea made a video about it. And honestly, she covered all the points in there that I thought were important. And I'm like, I don't want to double it because I know that we have a lot of the same audience base. But also, she made the point so well that I'm just like, I can't even add anything to that. She just did a better job. Anyway, so I saw this video come out today and it was a light morning. And so I figured, okay, you know what? I can react to it. Now, before I start, I do want to say, this is not the whole video, right? I watched, I want to say I watched about 3 hours, and this particular condensation is about 2.5 hours or 2 hours and 40 minutes, almost the 3 hour mark. I watched a little bit more than I actually put into this video because some of it afterwards wasn't all that relevant, and I cut it out. The other half of the video, I did not like cut down and decide to react to because this already got to 8 minutes, and you guys know I can gab, the gift of gab here. So I figured I would let it go, and if you guys were interested, / if I thought there was interesting stuff in it, I can maybe condense it down and put it in my next video, or just make a separate independent video, or maybe make a video for my patrons. I don't know. I haven't decided just yet. But yeah, let me know down below if you guys have a preference for that. With all that said, let's actually talk about the clip. So this is about 8 minutes. There's a lot more in here that I could have talked about. Honestly, I could have clipped so much more and put in so much more and done like 5 videos on this 1 hour video. You guys know. But I didn't want to repeat too many of the points in here that I've already talked about before. I just wanted to talk about the stuff that I thought was either new or immediately relevant, or something that we discussed in the past, but that's good to keep track of. So that's kind of how my metric for deciding what to leave in is. So if I haven't put something in here and you thought it was important, it's not that I don't think that that's important. I just didn't have anything to add to that, or I thought it just stood for itself. And I think, or other creators have covered it better. So with all that said, let's actually jump into it, shall we?
Staircase, yes, I know. You're all gonna give me shit today. Hi, Mimi, a tribe called Creek. I look like I'm feeling better. I don't even. Okay, I fucked up, man. I really fucked up. Lambo, feta cheese and lies, buying groceries. Actually.
Okay, so 2 things. One, this is a little bit sped up. This is, I think, 1.5 or 1.75. Let me know if this speed is okay or if it's too fast for you guys. I didn't wait for anybody else's clip grab. I just sort of grabbed the whole video. But I don't know why, no matter what I do, I cannot get my software to like recognize it as like a 5.5 hour video. So the first, I want to say maybe like, first half of it probably is me doing a screen grab of it playing on my computer, and then the other half of it is what I managed to grab using clip grab. So if it's too fast, let me know. It's a little bit easier for me to get through, honestly, on the 1.75 speed, but I tend to listen to everything faster than it's actually occurring. So like audiobooks, for example, are something I do that with, and I know it's not to everybody's taste. So let me know if it's too annoying. I won't do it again for the next video. In terms of what she's saying, she's like, she starts off with saying, you know, like, I know you guys are going to give me shit today. And she is obviously, visibly in a more cheerful mood. And people are like making a note of it, right? Like we've said before that for a while now, her audience has been turning. And the more times she goes back and forth and the shorter her cycles get and the more times she jerks her audience around, the more likely they are to call her on her crap, even when necessarily, like for example, in this, she hasn't actually done anything just yet, right? We don't even know what's happened, but we know the moods, we know the indicator, and we saw Just Saying's clip, I hope, and not his actual video. But if you guys are curious, Natter put out a video of him like making, I think it's like merguez, which is like a lamb sausage, a Middle Eastern lamb sausage. Fantastic sausage if you guys haven't had the chance to try it. I don't know about his, but I mean in general. And that came out inappropriate. I didn't mean for it to be. But she had left in originally a clip of her saying, of like him asking her if she wanted honey, and she thought when he said honey he was referring to her. It's actually quite sad. And he got so aggressive with her so fast in regards to just her drink preferences. It was pretty unsettling to see. Like, I really recommend taking a look at it, because I think it's a very clear indication of what their behind the scene interaction is like, and why I think she's so frightened of like talking to him about her problems face to face, but goes behind his back to like blab to us so fast, right? She wants to have these conversations, but she is actually too scared to do it. And of course, there's that immature side of her that cannot actually bring herself to like break it off and like take therapy seriously and actually deal with this like an adult.
I bought a lot of groceries and I just said whatever. Like, I was gonna bring them to my house and I'm like, I'm not gonna cook them. They're gonna rot. So I may as well do groceries and edit his video and I get a meal out of it, right? I know you guys are gonna think, oh no. Okay, let's go get coffee because I'm freaking dying here.
I want to know how much it is that she spent on the groceries, because I'm sure even if he is a good cook, right? Even if he is a good cook, say he's a great cook, right? The experience of going to his house to get that food versus going to a restaurant to buy that same food, I want to know how much he spent in groceries and how much like a meal like that would have cost, right? I can't speak for everywhere, but for me, I found that a lot of times Middle Eastern food, unless you're going to like a very like fancy place, a lot of really great Middle Eastern food tends to be fairly affordable, because a lot of it is started by recent like refugees who've come to the country. I found this to be especially true when I went to Europe. There was like a kebab shop around every corner, and 9 times out of 10 they tended to be very good. So I don't know if what she put in is what she got out of it. On top of that, she provided him with groceries. He provides her with a meal. That seems like a fair enough trade. On top of that, she's also going to edit his videos. That seems a little unneeded and unasked for. I feel like that was like going above and beyond. And once more, it feels to me like she's justifying him taking an interest in her. So she's like, see how useful I am, see how useful I am. Don't you want to keep me around? Don't you want to keep me around for this, right? Like, who's going to edit your videos if I don't? And that's what it feels like to me. And it comes across as so sad, because this guy is physically, emotionally, financially abusing you. And on top of that, he belittles and humiliates you on the internet every chance he gets. Like, I am amazed that this seems like a good deal to you.
I think people, I know you guys are going to expect me to like backtrack, try to backpedal everything I've just said in the past few days, but I'm not going to, because I'm stupid.
Okay, so she says this. She says that she's not going to try and backtrack because she doesn't think that we're stupid. But I want you to pay attention to the language with which she describes both their separation and their now reconnection, I guess is the best way to put it. I don't want to use a loaded term here. That's why I'm...
So, it's not, I mean, yes, there's a lot of drama with us and we fight and on camera, blah, blah, blah. Now, so the deal was, it's like a business transaction. I'll cook the food, I get a meal, or it's like he cooks, I get a meal. And he's looking for an editor, but I edited and like accidentally left it apart. And whenever I see that we were watching it, and I'm like, oh no, it's gonna look bad, because it looks like we're like fighting or whatever. But that's like, honestly, we weren't even fighting or anything there. Like, he talks like he's very animated when he talks. He talks a lot with his hands, and like if you actually listen to the context, he was actually like, and I'm not excusing, like, because honestly, if he does something shitty, you know I'm gonna come on here and like yell about it, like I always do. This was like asking me like if I, you know what I mean, like asking me my preference. So it might sound like in a mean way, but he was actually like trying to like make sure I like something that he was making.
Have you guys ever heard of the phrase, it's not what you said, it's the delivery with which you said it, right? A lot of times, I've said this before as well, I think in my videos, but it's probably been a long time since I've mentioned it, but it comes across a lot in like interpersonal conflicts where people will say, well, you're tone policing, in that, you know, someone will say something and you're like, oh, well, it's not what you said, but you said it so angrily. Yeah, and that can come across as tone policing. I understand that, but listen to the way in which he asks her. He seems so fed up and so disinterested. He's like, just give me what you want so that I can just give you your food and get it over with. He seems to tolerate her at the very, very best, like just barely tolerates her. The way he spoke to her then, I am not joking. If anyone in my real life spoke to me like that, like my immediate reactions twofold would, one, either be to immediately break down into tears because, oh my God, is this how they feel about me? Or two, be so incredibly mad. How dare you speak to me like that? I'm a person who deserves respect. You should not speak to me like that, especially not when I'm the one who's paying for your groceries. So she's saying that I'm not going to come on here and justify his actions, but she is. And this will come up again, by the way, later on in my clip show. We will talk about this again because she will talk about this again. So I'm going to hold the rest of my comments until then.
I don't enjoy eating anymore by myself. Like, it's weird. I realize that. And it's not enjoyable. Like, it's not the same cooking and eating with someone who doesn't like enjoy food the same way. Yeah, it's still busy. Grumpy. I gotta wait 50 years for a coffee. Freaking hell.
Two things here. That tick that she just did was fake. The first thing I want to mention is she comes on here, she's like, well, I don't like, eating alone anymore. I would like to ding her for this, but I am very much the same way. I have two forms of eating lunch. One is eating at my desk while I'm working, or my second one tends to be where I'm eating with other people. I cannot sit by myself and eat a lunch by myself. I don't know what it is. It's just something about the act of eating alone that I just can't seem to get behind. Like, it just makes me feel weird, right? Like, I grew up in a very, very close-knit, very large, very loud family. And so the only times you ate dinner or lunch or anything by yourself was when either people were mad at you, you were mad at everyone, or there was nobody else around, which is such a rare occasion that it like spoke of like something deeper going on. So I think it's just conditioned me to now like not really be able to eat. And I think I've mentioned this once before, but when like partner is away on like business trips, I feel weird the whole time I am like in the house. I am just like, I don't know what time it is. Like, none of the meals make sense to me. I don't tend to eat, or when I do, I'll just eat snacky foods, stuff like that. Like, my entire schedule goes haywire because I'm such a social eater. It's also, a negative thing because then when I'm in the company of others, I tend to it's easier for me to overindulge, as it were. So I'm not knocking her for that. Once you become used to, eating with other people, I get it. I don't necessarily think that what she is saying here is the entire reflection of it, because there is, yes, the actual act of eating with other people. Then there is like the intimacy of someone else cooking for you, right? Partner is an absolutely atrocious cook, but very occasionally, he will try and he'll be like, okay, I know you're tired, but here, let me make you like something that he knows how to make. He'll do like eggs, for example, and he'll do he'll do rice and dal or something like that. And he'll make it and he's like, I don't want you to stress about it. Here, I made food. I both enjoy cooking and I find it to be a stress relief. So I do most of the cooking in our house. Plus, honestly, I'm just better at it. But partner will like occasionally come and be like, okay, you're handling too much right now. Let me take care of it for you. And there is a lot of love that goes into that. Cooking for someone else is intimate in its own way. You have to keep in mind what their preferences are. You have to keep in mind how they like their food, what type of food they like to eat. Then there's the act of sitting down and sharing the experience together, of talking back and forth as you eat. You discuss how you made it. Oh, how do you like this? I made it like this time. There's a lot that goes into it. Plus, it's effort. If you're cooking for someone, you're doing it because you care about them. You would never take that much time, energy, and effort for someone that you don't care about. And that's what I come down to. While I understand that she might not exactly like the idea of eating by herself anymore because she's so used to having someone else there with her, she has Pete's at home and he's more than willing to engage in mealtime with her, even if she wants, even if like he's not particularly there for it. He's a very conflict avoidant type of person. And if Chantel approaches him and she goes, hey, I really want to have a meal together, can you come down? He would accommodate her. And he's not working right now, so his schedule tends to be much more open. And he's not exactly, a partying wild type anyway. So it's like you'll find him at home most days rather than not. But it's the intimacy part of it, because neither one of them really cooks. And Chantel doesn't particularly like home-cooked food. Let's be very frank here. We've seen before when Chantel was healthier and significantly less lazier that she used to cook and her food looked semi-decent. Even for her time warps, it wasn't always up to my taste. It wasn't stuff that I would always make for myself, but it always tended to look okay. She knows how to cook, and if she looks up recipes, she has enough skill to be able to follow them. Unlike Amber, who I genuinely think would struggle with that. Not that I think it's beyond her. I think even she can do simple recipes, but she can, Chantel could definitely look up recipes, follow recipes, and make delicious meals. you wouldn't get any of the intimacy out of it. And she would be the one expending efforts to make food for someone who she is not in an intimate relationship with. And we've seen time and time again that an intimate relationship is the only one that Chantel seems to value. You know, sex is the only thing that seems to matter to her. It's the only way that you form that long-lasting relationship. For some reason, the bonds of friendship and familial love are just not enough for her. If they were, she would be valuing them a lot higher than she currently is. I said two things. The other one was, I really don't like how she always acts like she's entitled to being at the front of the line everywhere she goes. Because she makes such a big production out of it every single time. Like, she'll go somewhere and she's like, oh, there's such a long line. And she does it again at some point later on in the stream too, where she's like in lunch, she's like, the guy in front of me is ordering breakfast. Oh, he's taking so long, you know? And I'm like, girl, what makes you feel so entitled to like the time of other people? I'm like unsure here why you think that it just because it's busy that you should be upset about it. If it's so busy, go somewhere else. Don't get coffee. Make coffee at home. Isn't that why you have a coffee machine at home? Like, why are you bitching about it? There's absolutely nothing to be gained from doing that. But
it didn't go out the window, Che. I always appreciate it. It's not like a plan. Like, okay, like whenever you're upset about something at the time, you feel a certain way, and you're like, yeah, okay. And then I don't know, like it starts to, the anger wears off, and then I start like just panicking and missing him, and like I don't like eating by myself anymore. Food doesn't taste the same. All that good pathetic stuff you guys hate. So I can't go for a walk, angry triggered spider, because I will crap my pants.
Again with the two things, but if you're gonna poop, because more than likely because of the combination of the garbage she puts into her stomach causing her irritable bowel-like symptoms and the coffee she's about to consume, which, fair, it can have that reaction on some people. Maybe go for a walk and then have the coffee. It's not like the coffee is going anywhere. It's Starbucks, after all. There's one around every corner. And secondarily, if you are feeling those feelings, you know what you do. You know, like what I do when I think I'm about to make a questionable decision. Like, I make them a lot of times. No doubt. Like this eyeshadow, questionable decision. I have never used beauty-based products before, and this is the Wilderness palette. I saw that Milk Tea React had gotten the Age of Opulence, and I think the Wilderness palette, and I was just like, ooh, pretty, shiny, give it to me. And that's so my makeup gremlin made me buy these palettes, and it was a bad decision because I had just recently bought like 3 beautiful, amazingly performing Odin's Eye eyeshadows that I loved so much, but I bought them because I am bad at decision making. And I should have done what I normally do when I'm thinking about making an impulse purchase, which is stop for a minute and then call my bestie and be like, do you think I should buy this? Because 9 times out of 10, she'll be like, no, this is a bad idea. Or didn't you just buy this? Or I don't know, maybe go for it. Like splurging every once in a while is fine. She's pretty like level-headed, and she doesn't go yes or no. She like gives me good reasons, right? The problem with Chantel is that she is unwilling to heed the advice of others. We've seen this multiple times in like not listening or caring about what her audience has to say. But also, Chantel doesn't really have, she hasn't bought in to therapy. So when we look at her, when she's behaving like this, she doesn't seem to understand that she can reach out to her therapist and like get the advice of her therapist and follow what her therapist says, because Chantel hasn't bought into the fact that therapy can help her. If she had, that would be the first person that she would reach out to, especially given the fact that she has said multiple times that her therapist is like, oh, it takes, you know, a battered woman an average of, I think it was like 7 to 8 times to leave her abuser. So you've talked to your therapist about Nader, and you have labeled the relationship as being abusive, which is why she brought up this abuse. She brought up how many times it takes an abused woman to leave. So the therapist has all this information and could provide you with the resources to not cave in those moments. You could also, of course, call your mom, call your sister, call Raina, call all of those imaginary friends on YouTube that you say that you have. Talk to Pete's. Talk to your therapist, write a diary, look up coping mechanisms on your own. You know, get incredibly high and stay home. I don't normally recommend that, but she does that anyway. And if it keeps her from going back to her abuser, then you know what? Do it. You choose not to engage in any of that, and then you come back on here and you justify your behavior, not realizing that the only thing that it gets across to us is that you're childish as fuck. Like, I know all of that was like leading up to the words childish as fuck, but genuinely, that's what this is. You're being childish as fuck. You don't get to say continuously that he is so mean to me and he like hurts me and he's cheating on me, he's doing X, Y, and Z, and then continuously keep coming back on here, you know, and a couple days after the massive fight and being like, okay, I know what you guys are saying, but it's just, I got so lonely. People get lonely. That's not an excuse to go back to your abuser. And quite frankly, you being this alone is a thing that he's doing on purpose. Who are the people left in your life, Chantal, other than Nader? Your family isn't exactly on speaking terms with you, and we'll get back to our family in a little bit when she brings it up again. You don't exactly have any friends, especially not IRL, and the only person you seem to have in your life is Pete's, and he is actively working to drive Pete's away. If, say, you know, her and Pete's really do have a falling out because Pete's is like, you know what, I can't deal with this anymore and I don't want to renew the lease. And the lease is in his name, so she can't make him do that. She can't sign this place on without him. And Pete's decides to move into his own apartment, which, by the way, he has lived by himself before. Say if he decides to do that, what person will fill his spot? Who does she have in her life other than Pete's at this point? Like, she has her cats, right? She has BBJ and Sam. And who else? Who does she have to confide in who is not on the internet? Because for all that we are, like, you know, we're real people. We are actually people who have feelings, emotions, and our emotional states should be taken into consideration. I don't mean me. I mean her VIBs, honestly. But we can't affect change in her life. So if Pete's leaves, who is the person that she will turn to when she needs something? And I don't mean just physically, I mean emotionally, for all that she can't put her own socks on. If she needs help emotionally, who will she turn to? Because I'm not entirely sure her family's even picking up her phone calls anymore.
Pete is a grown adult responsible for his own happiness. Actually, EG, that's a verbatim, not therapy, not me. Heather McCarthy, I'm doing very well.
All right. I want to make something abundantly clear here. I know that there was a lot of talk when Timbits died of people saying that, you know, how dare Chantal do this? She owes it to Pete's to help him and he's always there for her and blah, blah, blah. And then there were a lot of other people on Twitter specifically going back and saying that I cannot believe that Hater Nation is acting like, you know, she's responsible for Pete's feelings and blah, blah, blah. I think, fundamentally, I think both of y'all are being stupid. There is a huge difference between saying you are responsible for someone else's happiness. The only person whose happiness you are responsible for is your children when they are small, right? Because then it is your responsibility to cater to their needs and to make sure that they grow up happy and healthy. Outside of that, once they get to like teenagerhood, you know, like I'm talking like 16, 17, 18, right? It's harder and harder for you to do that. And once they become like a fully fledged adult, which I know the law will disagree with me, but I don't think really begins at like, it genuinely begins at like 22, 23, right? Once they are a fully fledged adult in their own right, it is no longer your responsibility to see if they are happy. Now, most decent people will still say that it might not be my responsibility, but I want to make sure that my friends and family are happy, right? That's why most people will say that parenting is a full-time job, that it doesn't end until you do. Because even though they are no longer your responsibility, right, you still feel a connection to them strong enough that makes their emotional health important to you. And I feel the same way towards my friends, that when they are suffering, I want to do something to alleviate some of that suffering. I'll give you a small example. A friend of mine had a baby, right? And I made like something like 9 or 10 freezer meals, and then I froze them and I put them in my garage, and I gave her like a little remote control key, and I'm like, hey, you can come and go and grab freezer meals as you need. And the reason I did that is because I want her to have food that's easily available to her. When she had the baby during the time where I was at my mom's place. And so, you know, when I came back, I was like, hey, I can bring you things as well if you need. I can watch your baby for a little bit if you need so you can take a nap. I don't owe her that. She's not saying you have to do this for me, but I know that my friend is suffering and it costs me significantly less than the relief it would bring her. And that's how I look at the calculus of that. sometimes when you care about other people, you want them to unburden themselves. And that's why people found it so hard when Chantel just decided to abandon Pete's post the death of Timbit. It wasn't so much that we needed her, that he needed her to be there, or that he, demanded that she be there, or that she owed him her presence. It's that he expends a lot of energy and effort on you, and he needed some of that support back. And it would have been nice if she had put his needs above her wants, his emotional needs. And once more, not her responsibility, but that is something that a good friend, especially a best friend, would have done. If my best friend's pets had died and I lived with them, you had better believe I would be there for them. I mean, forget that. Like, I had a coworker who was a friend, and her pet died. Her cat died. Someone had left out poisoned, I think it was like food for raccoons. And someone had left out the food, and her cat had gotten out and eaten some of it. And she was heartbroken. And so, you know what? The rest of the people who work with her, her friends, stepped up, myself included, took over some of her work. We let her grieve for a couple of days, let her work from home for a couple of days, take it easy for a couple of days. That was the support that we could provide her with. It's not a matter, and that's not like me saying I'm being great here. It was very little effort on my part that cumulatively from everybody made her life a lot easier. And that's what Chantel doesn't seem to get. She is not responsible for his happiness, but she could have been responsible for she's not responsible for his unhappiness or mitigating it, but she could have been responsible for his happiness, his elevation in mood, if she had so much as made an effort, and she didn't. And that's why people took such a strong point against it. That's why they took such a strong stance against it.
I treat loyal members badly? Why? What are you talking about, Trixie? Did I do something mean? I don't think I did anything to you. Did I do something to somebody personally? I'm just wondering. I'm not in a relationship.
She goes, have I done something to you personally? It's like she forgets all the times where she blocks VIBs who are paying money to be there and saying your $4.99 will not protect you, your $4.99 will not protect you, despite the fact that all they have done so far is question her behavior, right? A lot of these people are not saying mean things to her. They're simply saying, I don't agree with you. What you're doing is absolute bullshit, Natter's an abuser, and that's enough to get them blocked. Some people for even less than that. Some people will ask her a question about, okay, then why did you call him an abuser? And she's like, abuser, blocked. That's how she treats them. So it's not that you don't have to do something to me personally. I can be offended on other people's behalf. First of all, I am very good at being offended. Second of all, people have empathy towards other people, which is why sometimes when an injustice is done to someone else, they feel personally victimized by it as well. And to a certain degree, that's fine. I think you should be affected by the unhappiness of others, as long as it's a reasonable response, right? If you're personally becoming victimized by every single thing that's happening in the world, maybe reevaluate where you stand. But if I see somebody behaving shittily towards others, yeah, it's going to upset me. That's why it doesn't matter if you've done something to her personally. She's seen the way you treat her fellow VIBs. And also, it's the understanding that if you say the wrong thing to her at the wrong time, you could be the one up on the chopping block.
Actually, when I see my family or my mom, or if I go down or like go to see them, I'm not going to tell people because they harass. Like, they've harassed my family members. Like, some people harass my family members. So, I think like they prefer if I don't mention, like with Thanksgiving, where I was going, I don't mention, or I'm very vague. Or if my mom's birthday, or whatever, I don't want to talk about it. Like, I don't want to talk about like what I'm doing because like I can't even do that really because people will find out. Like if I'm in a location and you find out where I am, it's because I don't care. If you know, because there's a lot of web sleuths. So if I go somewhere, people like try to find out where I am.
Okay. I left this in her explanation about her family, not because I think that she's necessarily wrong, because I do believe her. I do believe that, to a certain degree, there are some people who will like stalk her family members and like try to get like information about Chantel from them. People on the internet do be crazy sometimes. That said, I think this is 100% her trying to cover her ass. Do you remember when I said that we'll come back to her family? This is that time. I cleverly set that up. So She is putting down a perfect reason for why she will no longer be mentioning anything about her family. What it's a cover for is the fact that I don't think her family has anything to do with her anymore. I don't think they really want to associate with her. You know, she's saying, well, you know, like if I go down there for Thanksgiving, she went out there for Thanksgiving and she told us all about it. And she put up a picture on her Instagram and everything. So we knew all about the fact that she was there for Thanksgiving. And Chantal is terrible at keeping a secret, because she is just incapable of keeping anything to herself. She's made streaming so much a part of herself that she just will blab anything that happens. It's one of the reasons why she continuously doxes people, right? So when she's coming on here and she's saying, well, you know, I'll just keep this to myself. No, I think she's saying this because if there is something happening, you know, and she's not invited, it is very convenient for her to say, well, I'm not sharing it. So that even if we find out about it from her mom's Facebook or whatever, you know, her saying, oh, you know, I celebrated my so-and-so birthday, you know, but we didn't hear Chantal mention anything about it. She can just say, well, I already told you guys I'm not going to talk about it because I don't want people harassing my family. The reality could be, in fact, that her family had just not invited her, which is what I think is actually happening. I cannot believe for 1 minute that her family, her mom, her sister, who seem all like decent people, that they would agree to continue being in her life when she is engaged actively with, I don't mean engaged in the fiance sense, but engaged as in just having interpersonal relationships with a man like Nader. And I think that if I was in their position, I would take a step back, because once more, I believe Smokey Steve and Mark when they talk about the fact that she is actively using. I believe them. That thing on her lip, you know, they've convinced me that it was a burn. And quite frankly, her lack of weight gain and her behavior are the other things that really tip me off.
I don't lie to you, Darby, I swear. I mean, do you mean like... You lie sometimes, darling? No, I'm not lying. Like, I don't understand. Like, I guess we have different definitions of a lie. No, for real. Like, I don't feel like me the other night when I was upset, like, it's over. And actually, it is. I'm not in a relationship. Like, I'm not in a committed relationship with him.
This is the second time she said that, right? She said before, and this time she caught it. Before she said, I'm not in a relationship with him, and she didn't give that follow-up of, I'm not in a committed relationship with him, because she's using that relationship semantics. She likes to use that word because the last cycle when she'd broken up with him, you know, people called her out. They're like, oh, well, you said earlier today that, you know, you were in that the relationship that you guys have, blah, 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 whatever. But you're now saying that you were never in a committed relationship. Like, what's that about? And she's like, well, I just mean that, you know, in the generals, in the abstract sense that, you know, any person that you're with, you know, you have some sort of a relationship with them. She likes to play this a lot of, am I technically lying? The reality of it is, it isn't about technicalities. It's about your intention in this case, which I realize it's hard to prove, but we can tell from your actions a lot of times what your intentions are. You give us partial and half truths with the idea that if you do that, you can both make us believe a certain truth, a certain narrative, and then you can come out against that narrative if it suits your purposes at a later date and time. That's a lie. You are actively trying to mislead us from what the reality of the situation is. It's a lie of omission, but it is still a lie. And once more, she will bring up how she just changes her mind. But there are two elements to that. Did you know that you were not planning on holding firm to this or not, right? Because if it's genuinely something as simple as, you know, I fully believe that I was not going to, but then, I couldn't help it, or something happened, or unmitigated circumstances, and I had to reevaluate, that's one thing. Then that's not a lie, because something changed, some circumstances changed. But if you're telling us something, you're like, well, you know, I break up with him, and then after the fact, I get like really depressed and sad, and I miss him, and food doesn't taste the same, and blah, 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 and all that sappy stuff you guys didn't want to hear. You know that you're going to do that, right? Convenient how she seems to remember her cycle now, but she didn't remember the last time when she broke up with him. She didn't remember her cycle then. So it's convenient how you seem to remember your cycle now. It's also convenient that like you seem to know so much about what you're going to do. You know that you're going to follow this exact pattern. So when you come on to the internet and you say, I'm broken up with him, I'm not going to go over to his house and edit his video, blah, 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 we're not together anymore. You know your own actions, and you know you're not planning on changing anything about them. You know you're not planning on reaching out to a therapist. So you know the path it's going to take. You have enough clarity into your own action. So if you know what you're going to do in the future and you still decide that, you know, I'm going to say these words and say it with my whole chest and stand behind them, then that's not you changing your mind. That is you lying to us once again. Because it might not be the straightforward, bold-faced lie of when you were saying you're not doing cocaine, but it is still a lie. Because you're still trying to mislead us in terms of what your actual follow-through, your actual intention is going to be.
Fucking mean. Just go in the store and leave us in peace. You know what? I'm just gonna start my live streams not being them. How about that? It's convenient to change your mind. You guys know I change my mind over and over. And it's not just that. It's just like, how many times people break up with people and they get back together? Like, how many? It happens.
This is what I meant when I had mentioned earlier that she's trying to rewrite the history of their separation and their reconciliation. Because it's not that I left him because he was an abusive cheater. It's that we broke up. And I know that I just spoke about like us trying to weasel out of technicalities, but that's how her mind works. She'll rewrite the terms with which she defines the situation, and that will give her just enough leeway to slide back in, right? So a good example of this is honestly the gonorrhea stuff. It started with, oh my God, he gave me gonorrhea, to I can't actually prove who I got the gonorrhea from, and then making up a pretend story about who she could have gotten the gonorrhea from, and asking us questions like, could I have gotten it from a toilet seat, you know? All of that comes from the same place. All of that comes from trying to find a technicality in which this could be untrue, in which she could write the narrative in her head such that she can slide back into his life. Because that's what she wants. And she's hoping that if she does this enough times, she'll just become a fixture and he'll just get used to her. And he'll just be like, all right, you've been here long enough. Haha, I guess you're my girlfriend now. Not realizing that's not what you want. I don't want someone to just accept me because I'm just there and gotten used to me. I want someone to actively want and pursue me. I want somebody to understand that my time is worthwhile, and that if I'm giving it to you, then that is worthy of something. You are worthy of something in my eyes, and that it will go away if you mess it up. That's how it should be, but from both parties. This is not just like a women should do this thing. If your time isn't valuable to the person who you want to spend your time with, then they're not a person you should be wanting to spend your time with. If they don't see you as something to be treasured, then what's the point of being with them?
I feel like just taking off and just being completely free from every single thing in my life. But that's not possible, I know. I mean, technically it is. I really don't have anything. I really don't have like a family. I don't have kids. I don't have a house. I could really just like take my next paycheck and just fuck off and be like, bye, I'm going to do YouTube and I'm doing vlogs. We're going to travel around. And that's it. See you later. Like, I'm at the point, I just feel like doing that. Like, honestly. I have a valid passport. I have a valid passport, a YouTube check, and a camera. I don't need anything else. Except I don't have my cats. And I know you guys think I neglect them and I don't think about them. I do miss them a lot when I'm not with them, actually.
Okay. She's mentioned this several times, and she does say, you know, a little while after that clip that I ended, she could just go, yeah, but I guess maybe that's not really possible. And she's mentioned something to the effect of this before as well, right? She said several times about how, you know, she just wants to escape. She just wants to go somewhere new. Maybe she'll go to Jamaica with her aunt. And she actually does name drop Jamaica a couple times during this live stream as well. But it's irrelevant because she's never going to do that. Because as multiple people, and myself included, have said, Chantel's problem is Chantel. Until she's willing to change something about herself, the problems in her life aren't going to go away. They're not going to be mitigated. Because her overeating, her toxic relationship behavior, everything, it's all tied in with her psychological needs that are not being met, that the psychological issues that she's repressing, that she's unwilling to address with a therapist. Until those problems are fixed, no new location is going to fix that. Do you guys remember when she broke up with Baby and she moved into this apartment with Pete, and it was like, new house, new me, right? And you guys saw how long that lasted, right? And the other thing I really quickly want to ping is she says, I don't really have anything holding me back, you know. I don't have any family. I don't have a house. And that was interesting to me, right? Like, she doesn't technically own a house, and this one, her name isn't really on it, though it would be cruel of her to leave Pete's holding the bag for that. But she mentioned that she doesn't have a family. She does have a family though. Her mom, her sister, her grandma has passed away, but her uncle is here. Even her aunt is here right now, as far as we know. So she has all of this family here. They're not worth enough to stay. Now, like, I moved pretty far away from my family, right? I live on the other side of the country from where my parents are. It's just where life took me. And that is one thing. I moved here for a variety of different reasons, work, partner, all those things, right? She lives very close to her family. She has no reason really to leave other than the fact that her life feels claustrophobic to her. But her family doesn't seem to be a reason to her to stay. I'm just saying this provides more fuel to the her family is currently not speaking to her theory.
Cats over 10 years.
Also, this is the part where my computer actually managed to clip grab it. So now it's at regular speed because for some reason my computer software only allows me to do 2.2 times the speed and not like 1.25 or 1.5. And so it was like too fast to understand anything she was saying.
To be seen twice a year? Really?
Makes sense. Like I said, I doubt many people actually take their cats to the vet twice a year.
Once a year unless sick. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'll be taking them twice. Sorry. Let's just be real. Unless they're really sick. Sorry, BBJ. I didn't even take my grandma to the doctor twice a year when she was geriatric.
I'm not sure. I'm not a cat owner. My sister takes my cat. No, my sister takes her cat / my parents' cat. They kind of share a cat. My sister takes the family cat. No, because not everyone in the family likes her or is responsible for her. My sister's cat. Let's just stick with that. My sister takes her cat to the vet a couple times a year, but that's because that cat has massive anxiety problems, and so she needs to be seen a little bit more often. She's also kind of really hard to coerce, and we're kind of always worried about her like hurting herself because of that. She's like a really, really frightened cat who's got a lot of like psychological issues. Genuinely, my sister found like the worst cat in the entire world. The cat's a piece of crap, okay? You guys don't understand. It specifically goes to pee on my and my brother's beds. Unacceptable, ma'am. Anyway, so I don't really know how often cats are supposed to be taken. We've only had the cat for like a few years, and there's always been some need or another for the cat to go in like twice a year-ish. So I don't know. If there are cat owners here, please let me know how often you take your cat to the vet. That said, twice a year doesn't really seem like all that much for an elderly cat. I feel like twice a year to go get checked out for an elderly animal seems reasonable, right? Like my grandmother towards the end of her life would go to the doctor like every 3 months or so, just because she was, she had a lot of like maintenance issues, so she would have like a lot of knee pain. They had to check her regularly for, urinary tract infections, just stuff like that. When you get elderly, a lot of issues that are just fine for us that we can just shrug off become a problem. And while I don't have experience with elderly cats, having seen elderly people and loved them and been around them, I can tell you that those things need to be addressed in a timely manner, otherwise they become problematic. And I can't help but feel that it would be the same for cats. If Chantal was financially in dire straits or could not leave the house or did not have her own transportation, I would say, okay, maybe it makes sense. I think if BBJ is doing fine, okay, maybe it's fine. But you do have a car, you do have money, and you do have time on your hands. You don't have any reason why you can't take your cat to be seen by the vet twice a year, especially for an elderly cat. I think BBJ is like 19 years old. That is ridiculous for a cat. I think that that's a fairly reasonable thing to take your cat twice. And let's not forget that Timbits had feline leukemia, which I don't think any one of their cats is actually immunized against. So they could be at risk. I don't know now that Timbits has passed. I don't know how long it takes for that, I think it's a virus to dissipate, for it to die if it's not in a host already. So I don't know if they can share a communal bowl and maybe not be affected. But we know that while Timbits was living there was a chance of it. I would have been taking her more often. I would have taken them to get immunized. I don't understand why Chantal is so flippant about it, especially because, once more, I genuinely don't think it would be that much of a financial hardship for her.
What's more annoying? Like, I hate conspiracy. I'm just gonna say it. I hate conspiracy theories. They piss me off. They seem paranoid and just irrational to me. I don't know. What's just it? Amanda.
I mean, yeah, I don't really have anything to say to that. I agree. I'm not really. I think I have a T-shirt that says Flat Earth Society, but because I just find that kind of funny. I'm not a big conspiracy theory person either. There's a couple that I'm just like, this is interesting. It's a thread to follow up on. And most of the time, when I look at, like, you know, when they say, like, the moon is a hologram and stuff, I'm like, I don't believe you. None of this is real. It's all nonsense bullshit. But, like, Chantal is speaking, and she's like, I just think they're so irrational. Ma'am, you keep justifying getting back together with your abusive partner. Do not come on here and judge the irrationalities of other people, okay? It's the pot calling the kettle black.
Because that's stealing people's videos. Like, if you're just...
Okay, so this is in reference to something that's actually happening with Amber's channel. If you guys aren't aware, Amber Lynn Reed recently struck down a channel whose name I do not remember. I've actually never... watched anything by this creator or interacted with them in any way. I did not know they existed, quite frankly. YouTube's a huge place. Even Hater Nation's pretty big. So I did not know they existed, and I don't know any of their content. I don't think any of it is available anymore. I think their whole channel is gone. So if someone knows more about it, I'd appreciate it. And so that's the context with which she's speaking to this on. Amber's video said that Amber had struck their channel because they were uploading the entirety of her videos with maybe 1 or 2 comments. Sorry about that.
Re-uploading people's content, like, you're taking the ability from them. Oh, it just re-uploaded her content and made more views than her? Well, then, yeah, that's come on, guys. Like, that's not right. You're basically stealing people's content. You're not doing anything. You know? I don't know what to consider transformative. That's where I find a gray area. Like, I don't know. Like, discussing the content, okay. But to me, you shouldn't be allowed to play the entire video. You pick topics you want to discuss or react to, instead of making it your channel. Cat Basil. So, yeah. Like, what's transformative? Like, pick your talking topics, or transform the video. But people like Charlie, I don't find them transformative at all, actually. Like, there's reaction channels you could tell they just don't like the person they're talking about. Like, they're just bothered by the person. Like, people like Charlie, FFG, like, she hates fucking Natter or whatever. That's apparent.
So do I.
So...
I don't know what metric she's using to judge transformativeness of a video. I think that what she's saying right now is more applicable to, I think, what Charlie was doing a little while ago, right? Where she would just do straight reacts when Chantal had shorter videos. Most people now, though, that I see who are doing, like, reacts of her, either they're doing super long reacts, they'll take a 1-hour video of Chantal's and they'll do like a 3-hour long stream, in which they're adding a lot more of their own commentary, fan interaction, all of that, which just by the very length of it is transformative in nature, even if they're covering the whole video. Or they're doing what I'm doing, which is they're cutting down a lot of her video to, like, shorter segments that are more digestible so that they can fit it into like a 1 or a 1.5 hour or whatever video, right? Because otherwise they're just too long. So I can understand that she doesn't like the creator, but liking has nothing to do with it. Your personal likes and dislikes are not the way that laws or YouTube rules are made. No one gives a shit about your feelings, right? If I may be allowed to quote Ben Shapiro, you know, facts, not feelings, right? No one gives a crap about your feelings. So I'm looking at this and I'm saying, you're veering now into, they're like, you know, you can tell sometimes that they obviously don't like the creator. There are 2 ways of talking about Chantal that I have found three ways that predominate. One is obvious disgust. Second is laughing at the lol cows. And third is kind of like the way that I do it, which is a little bit more removed, right? It's a little bit more removed. I'm looking more at why she might be doing something, giving you my opinions on it, right? It's like the middle ground between like being disgusted by her and finding her funny. Because I have both of those moments, but most of the time I'm somewhere in the middle. A little bit more boring, I think, than either one of those two extremes tend to be. I don't like you any more than I think that Callie or Charlie or FFG do. Chantel, just because I'm not using your whole video, it doesn't mean that. Just because I didn't call you like something that you personally took offense to, it doesn't mean that I like you any more than they do. I just have a different delivery style because I am a different type of person, right? Everybody is. And once more, just because they are mean about what they're saying, quote unquote, doesn't make them wrong. And that is a thing that I think she fails to understand. She seems to think that that's why she finds it so easy to dismiss the hostility with which Natter spoke to her. Because she's like, oh, well, you have to look at the context of what he said, the content of what he said, not the way in which he delivered that message, which absolutely not. He delivered it to you like you were a piece of shit that meant nothing to him because you're a piece of shit that means nothing to him. So you're looking at if you're looking at what like Charlie is saying, the content of what she is saying is that you need to get your life right in one way or another and in a lot more detail and with more nuance. But that's what she's saying. What she's saying is fine. But you have an issue with Charlie's tone, but you don't have an issue with Natter's because you're sleeping with Natter and therefore he's forgived all sins.
We were like in the car and I was like, I'm really sorry. Like when we were going to dinner.
Okay, the context for this is that she said that, she felt really bad about leaving Pete's that day. And so conveniently, in all of the 3 hours that she wasn't on live this past time since Timbit has passed on, she was in the car with him and she managed to have this conversation.
I'm like, I'm really sorry if I wasn't there for you more. And he's like, honestly, I just wanted to be alone anyway. Like, he did sleep a lot.
It's so nice how he tends to absolve her of all of the things that people were criticizing her for. It's really nice that Pete, who has such a strong spine and is so willing to stand up to her and be so confrontational and demand things that he needs emotionally from his friends and family, that when he lets her know these things, because then that, Pete would never ever just let things go because he wants to keep the peace. As we know, Pete is super confrontational, especially with Chantel. He's all bite and no bark. That sounds exactly like Pete's.
When I'm on live talking to you guys, I let you guys get in my head. Whenever I'm with him, in his bed, I let him get in my head. And it's just like a constant. And then I have my thoughts. And everyone else.
Okay, that is pretty much the end of the video there. I left that last bit in because I think it's really important to discuss. Chantel is an incredibly easily manipulated person, which is why a lot of times when we people they can we can put up a poll and we know how accurate we're going to be. So just like I'm saying right now, she is currently in the pre-stages of getting back together with him. She will then be in the stage of where she considers that they're back in a relationship. Then something's going to happen. They're going to break up. We're going to see her talking volatilely on the channel again. He might even come onto his channel and decide to do a live stream again. And then again and again and again and again until he is done with her for good. And at that point, I think it's going to be, because she's already running into money troubles here. I think that when she has alienated enough of her audience and she's not generating enough income for her to support his life, that's when I think he'll cut her off for good. Or if there's a dire health consequence to the drugs I'm still sure that she's taking. So, she talks about how, when I'm talking to you guys, what you're saying, that may, you guys get into my head. And then when I'm with him, what he's saying, that gets into my head. And then, I have my own thoughts, which I doubt. I have my own thoughts. And then, it's like everybody else. Look, people are going to say what they want all day long. People say it to me. People say it to other channels. People say it to people significantly bigger than you, right? And people will say it to channels significantly smaller than you. You are not the only person, I was going to say anoki, which means unique in Urdu. You are not the only unique person in the world who has a YouTube channel, a boyfriend, a friend, and some family, right? You're not the only person who's in that situation. Most people on YouTube have all of those people in their lives, and somehow they have the ability to form their own thoughts and opinions independent of all of those people. This is what I recommend to you, Chantel. The only person who you should be listening to is yourself. And if you can't do that, if you're finding it hard to just make up your mind on your own, without any outside input, and you find yourself easily swayed by outside opinions, then you talk to a therapist and you let them be your bellwether, right? You talk to them, you ask them, hey, what do you think about X situation? What do you think about Y situation? What do you think about yada, 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 blah, 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 right? And you do that back and forth. And I'm telling you now that in the modern day of medicine, what with telehealth and whatnot, in the wake of COVID-19, like a lot of places have really opened up their doors to having email communication open with their doctor. Now, I'm not saying your doctor will get back to you immediately, but they might get back to you within 24 hours. And you should be able to hold yourself back from making a decision for 24 hours. If you can't, then you've got even deeper problems and you need to step up your therapy. Maybe rather than spending all of your money on weed products, you should think about getting private therapy and paying for it out of pocket, getting it every week, because clearly you need it. So, listen to yourself or listen to your therapist. Listen to absolutely no one else. And that's where I will leave that. All right. So that was the entirety of my video. If you guys found this interesting and you guys do want me to go through the rest of her video and see if there's anything else I want to talk about, clip out, it might be as long as this, it might be a little bit shorter. Hell, I might even make a 30-minute video. Fuck it. It'd be so unique for my channel. But if you guys are interested in that, let me know down below. As always, if you guys like this video, leave me a thumbs up. If you guys didn't like this video, leave me a thumbs down. All of your opinions are welcome down below. I've been making more of an effort to interact with everybody in the audience. I know I don't always do it right away. I get busy with stuff, but whenever I have a moment, I will go through and answer as many people as I can. And I do care about what you say. I don't always get the time to go back and respond again, but I do keep a lookout on it, and I do read most of your comments. And yeah, so do leave me a comment down below if there's anything you want me to know. Let me know if you think it makes sense, why I think that she really is at a complete standstill with her family, where I don't think that she has really any relationship with them right now at all. And as always, I want to say thank you to all of my patrons. You guys make the world go round. I want to say a special thanks to Oceana Song and D. Higgins. Thank you guys so much. They're my $25 patrons, and the fact that people consider me worthy of that is absolutely ridiculous to me. If you guys haven't checked it out, I did a sponsored video with Dossier. I have the link down below. It gives you 10% off. It's a sponsored link, and if I don't know how to qualify that because I don't earn a commission back on it, but if you buy something with that link, you get 10% off. I think it's just for tracking purposes. But so if you guys want to try the products out, please do. I got a perfume that is inspired by Le Labo's Santal 33, and it is fantastic. I had a sample of the Le Labo one, and I cannot afford to buy an actual bottle of that perfume, and it is so similar and they're so beautiful. I really love it. I put it on in the morning, stays on all day. Cannot speak highly enough of the quality. Having great Black Friday sales. If you're looking to do some holiday shopping, check it out. And check out that video too if you want to show my sponsored video some love. But anyway, thank you guys so much. Thank you for watching. And as always, I'm Jasmine, the sequel, and I am not relatable. Peace. A special thank you to my patrons, Acrophobe, Ariel M, Christina, Courtney EP, Dainty B, Lori H, Sidra Z, Colleen L, Debbie E, Justa Jude, Kate O, Sonia P, and a special thank you to my $25 patrons, D. Higgins and Oceana Song.